Several hours later, the red-haired woman, Hong Wu, made her way to the designated meeting point, a makeshift camp nestled amidst the remnants of what had once been a bustling village. The camp was sparse, with only a few tattered tents and makeshift seating arrangements made from whatever debris could be scavenged. Hong Wu's team, the Tiger Scorpion team, was already there. The first to greet her was the bald man, who sat on a wooden crate, resting his elbow on his knee and rubbing his head in thought. He looked up at her and said, "Captain, something feels off. We've been patrolling for hours and haven't encountered a single beast above level 5. The reports indicated the front line was supposed to be overrun by now." The man with orange hair, standing nearby with his arms crossed, nodded in agreement. His face was stern as he added, "Yeah, it's strange. I've scoured the entire area and found nothing. No beasts, no signs of a recent fight. It's too quiet." The blue-haired man, hands shoved deep into his pockets, approached them. He was sweating, a single drop rolling down his cheek. He glanced around before speaking. "It's true. Feels like a normal day out in the wilderness, not the war zone described in the reports. According to those, the front line should have collapsed by now, with beasts wreaking havoc everywhere." Hong Wu crossed her arms under her chest, her sharp eyes scanning the ground as she pondered their observations. Her fiery red hair glinted in the dim light as she mulled over the situation. "This doesn't add up," she said, her voice tinged with confusion. "A double-a-level mission shouldn't be this quiet. If the beasts aren't in the wild zone, then where are they?" The man with blue hair put a finger to his chin, staring thoughtfully at the mountain and the city beyond. "Maybe they've retreated there," he suggested, breaking the silence that had settled over the group. "If they're not here in the wild, they could be hiding in the ruins, regrouping or setting up an ambush." Hong Wu nodded, her mind racing through the possibilities. "It's plausible," she agreed, "but we need to be certain. We can't risk an unexpected attack if the beasts have truly moved into the city." Hong Wu, the red-haired captain of the Tiger Scorpion team, crossed her arms and fixed her team with a serious gaze. "Stay alert," she ordered, her voice firm. "If the beasts have concentrated here, their numbers could be far greater than we anticipated." Her team members nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Hong Wu turned her back to them, her eyes scanning the horizon. She raised one hand to the sky, signaling them to move out, and started towards the city with purpose in her stride. The man with orange hair, carrying a backpack, and the bald man with a tattoo on his head fell and stepped behind her. The man with blue hair, placing a hand on his sword, spoke up, "This is going to be a tough battle." Several hours later, they reached the outskirts of the abandoned city. The devastation was stark. The team's senses were heightened as they surveyed their surroundings, ready for any threat that might emerge from the rubble. The bald man, a cigarette dangling from his lips, pulled out a detector and turned it on. The soft hum of the device was the only sound in the eerie silence. "There's nothing within 100 meters to the south," he reported, his voice calm but cautious. The blue-haired man, his hand on the hilt of his sword, began to unsheathe it slowly. He glanced around, his jaw clenched. "No anomalies to the north either," he said, the tension evident in his tone. Hong Wu stood nearby, her fists clenched as she looked around. "This is very strange," she muttered. "The old city is more deserted than usual. We haven't encountered a single beast, and that doesn't make sense." The blue-haired man paused in his actions, his unease growing. He turned towards Hong Wu, concern etched on his face. "Could the beasts have moved to other defense lines?" he asked. Hong Wu's eyes narrowed as she gazed forward, her expression fierce. "I don't think so," she replied, her voice filled with determination. "If the beasts had shifted to another area, our superiors would have redirected us to provide support there." At that moment, Hong Wu's smartwatch began to ring. She brought her hand close to her face, her eyes narrowing as she answered the call. The voice on the other end explained that her team had done an excellent job clearing the beasts so quickly. However, he added that despite their efforts, they had been in the wild area for half a day and hadn't found a single beast. This was perplexing and troubling. Hong Wu's mind raced as she approached her team. She touched her watch, revealing to them that the Blue Star team had also arrived. "They just entered the wild area and are facing the same situation. We can't see a single beast," she reported. The three men, each with distinct features and a determined look, gathered around her. The man with blue hair, his hand still on his sword, suggested, "Maybe we should head straight to the spatial crack. We might be able to see if there's a problem at a glance." Hong Wu pondered his suggestion, her eyes focused on her watch. The idea had merit, but she knew they had to be cautious. She turned her head towards him, her expression determined. Agreed. But first, we'll send a drone to take a look. It's too dangerous to go in directly. They quickly took out a military drone equipped with high-precision cameras and a small machine gun. The man with blue hair took control, gripping the controller with both hands. He looked up, his concentration evident as he started to maneuver the drone. The rest of the team, including Hongwu, watched in silence, their eyes following the drone as it took off. The drone flew smoothly over the devastated city, its cameras capturing every detail of the desolation. Hongwu's mind raced with possibilities. Where were the beasts? Why had they vanished so suddenly? The drone approached a bridge that led towards the entrance of the war zone. Hongwu instructed, "Get closer to the entrance and lower the altitude. Zoom in on the image." The man with blue hair, his eyes glued to the screen, felt a shiver run down his spine as the drone approached the cave's entrance. His expression changed drastically, and sweat began to bead on his forehead. Something was very wrong. Captain Hongwu, her red hair catching the dim light, noticed his unease. She approached him, her gaze serious and intense. "Is there still no sign of beasts near the front?" she asked, her voice steady despite the mounting tension. Before he could respond, the screen flickered violently. A shot rang out, and the drone exploded into pieces, the signal lost instantly. Panic spread through the team as they realized their reconnaissance was compromised. "Everyone move. We need to assess the situation ourselves," Hongwu commanded, her voice cutting through the confusion. Without hesitation, the team sprang into action, sprinting towards the cave's entrance. As they neared the cave, the remnants of the destroyed drone were a stark reminder of the danger ahead. The man responsible for shooting it down stepped forward from the shadows. A soldier with a robotic left arm, a recent and grim reminder of the battles they all faced. An old bald soldier, white-haired and short in stature, approached the man with fury in his eyes. He picked up the broken drone, shaking it for emphasis. "Why did you bring down all the reinforcement drones?" he shouted, his voice echoing off the cave walls. The soldier with the robotic arm, nonchalant, began to whistle as he held his rifle with one hand and touched his head with the mechanical arm. "I thought it was an eagle," he explained with a shrug. "Planned to cook dinner for Sir Lu Shang." Nearby, a burly soldier with a bandaged right hand stirred a pot with his remaining hand. He glanced over, his tone calm and reassuring. "Don't worry about it. Reinforcements will arrive soon anyway." He continued to cook, the aroma of the meal mingling with the tense atmosphere. The area around them was littered with the corpses of mutant beasts, a testament to the ferocity of the ongoing battles. Another beast, a monstrous creature with gnashing teeth, approached menacingly. Before it could get close, Lu Shang unsheathed his spear with a swift, practiced motion and cut the beast in half with a single, effortless strike. As Lu Shang stood victorious over the beast's corpse, the powerful red energy surrounding him began to dissipate. The old man and the soldier with the mechanical arm watched in awe, their eyes wide with amazement. The burly soldier, still stirring the pot, turned his head and, with a hint of admiration, said, "We need to think about what to prepare for Lu Shang's dinner later." Lu Shang, his expression fierce and focused, placed his foot on the beast's lifeless body. His eyes, filled with an intense determination, scanned the horizon for any more threats. The old man, seeing this display of power, couldn't help but feel a pang of envy and a desire to become as strong as Lu Shang. Meanwhile, Captain Hongwu and her team made their way towards the war zone. The air was thick with the metallic scent of blood, a strong red odor that assaulted their senses. Hongwu instinctively covered her mouth, her eyes narrowing as she gestured for her team to be cautious. "Be careful," she warned, her voice muffled by her hand. The others, more accustomed to the smell of blood and battle, simply nodded and continued forward. The sight that greeted them was nothing short of horrifying. A mountain of mutant beast corpses lay before them, surrounded by a strange golden energy. Among the pile, the snake-shaped corpse of a level 7 beast and the dog-shaped corpse of a level 6 exotic beast stood out. Hong Wu's eyes widened in shock, her breath catching in her throat. What happened here?" she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. The sheer number of high-level beast corpses was staggering. Who could have possibly done this? She dropped her arms to her sides and slowly approached the mountain of corpses. Her gaze moved upwards, her fear growing with each step. The other members of her team followed closely, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. The silence was abruptly broken by a noise in the distance. Hong Wu, the red-haired captain of the Tiger Scorpion team, swiftly turned her head towards the source, her eyes narrowing with determination. She began to wonder what was happening, her mind racing through various possibilities. Not far from her, Lu Shang, holding his spear in one hand, grabbed the tail of a mutant beast with the other. With a powerful swing, he slammed the beast's body to the ground, then began to approach the tiger-scorpion team. His gaze shifted to the red-haired captain and her subordinates, curiosity and caution evident in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" Lu Shang asked, his voice firm but calm. The captain straightened up, still trying to process the situation. After a few moments, she and her team followed Lu Shang as he led them to a safer location. The team couldn't help but watch in awe as Lu Shang decapitated a giant mutant beast with a single, swift motion, then lit a fire and placed the beast's head on top. He climbed onto the roof of a truck, his presence commanding and serene, while the team remained silent, still trying to figure out who this formidable young man was. Lu Shang, with one hand resting on the truck's roof, grabbed a piece of meat and started eating. Between bites, he glanced at the red-haired captain and her team, noticing the symbol of a tiger on their uniforms. "Tiger Scorpion?" he mumbled, recognizing the insignia. He then asked, "Are you part of an A-rank general team? Have you come as reinforcements?" The captain, realizing the significance of Lu Shang's presence, placed her hand on her forehead and assumed a military stance. "Salute!" she commanded her subordinates, who promptly followed suit. With a bewildered expression, she explained, "We received orders from High Military Command to come and eliminate the beasts running rampant in the war zone. At least a dozen teams are on their way. We were the first to arrive." As she spoke, a drop of sweat fell from her cheek. She looked away, her gaze shifting to the side. Near them was the entrance to a spatial crack, filled with the corpses of mutant beasts. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Hongwu looked towards the cave and the carnage that surrounded it. She couldn't help but think that Lu Shang was surely someone of immense power. He was young but extraordinarily strong, displaying a level of martial prowess she had rarely seen. Lu Shang hopped off the roof of the truck, his hands casually tucked into his pants pockets. As he approached the tiger-scorpion team, a relaxed smile spread across his face. "Will the army send someone soon to rebuild this front line?" he asked, his voice steady but with a hint of curiosity. As he walked, his mind wandered to the meals he had been enjoying. He thought about the old man and the others he had saved in the war zone. They had been cooking for him these past days, and he found their meals far superior to those from the cafeteria of the 1182 Regiment. Meanwhile, the blue-haired man and the orange-haired man from the tiger-scorpion team exchanged confused glances. They were both surprised and curious about Lu Shang's demeanor and strength. The red-haired captain, Hongwu, put her arms behind her back and regarded Lu Shang with a serious expression. "The reconstruction of the front line will be discussed by the higher-ups once the situation with the otherworldly beasts is resolved," she explained. "For now, I've informed the army, and they'll probably send someone to review the situation in 2 or 3 days." Lu Shang listened carefully, then unsheathed his spear. Gripping it tightly, he felt a surge of joy. A powerful golden energy began to emanate from his body, filling the air with a palpable sense of strength. He turned to the tiger-scorpion team, his gaze calm and resolute. "We can finally put an end to this." The sight of the golden energy radiating from Lu Shang left the tiger-scorpion team speechless. Hongwu felt a mix of awe and nervousness. She approached Lu Shang, her face reflecting her confusion and curiosity. "What is your identity?" she asked, her voice tinged with urgency. Lu Shang, holding his spear with one hand, looked at her and then became lost in thought. He turned his back on them, then slightly turned his head back, his gaze thoughtful. "I'm a new recruit under General Yu Fei's command of the 1182 Regiment," he finally said. "I've been in the army for less than half a month." Upon hearing Lu Shang's words, the red-haired captain, Hongwu, went into shock. Her eyes widened, and she found herself speechless. "Are you joking?" she asked, almost hoping that he was. Lu Shang slightly turned his body towards them, his gaze penetrating and unwavering. "Do you think I'm joking?" he asked calmly. The captain and her team extended their hands to the sides, taking several steps back in disbelief. The notion that Lu Shang was a new recruit, having been in the army for less than a month and yet capable of holding an entire front line by himself, was beyond their comprehension. To them, he was a figure of terrifying strength. Determined to understand more, Hongwu approached Lu Shang with a calm demeanor. "I understand," she said. "Would you consider coming back with us to headquarters? With your ability, you'd surely be evaluated as outstanding and could receive a title. The benefits of becoming a titled soldier are far better than those for a common soldier." Lu Shang put his hand under his chin, looking up at the sky thoughtfully. He considered her offer, realizing that he needed otherworldly marrow and other resources for his further progress. Taking out his phone, he turned slightly towards Hongwu. "Wait," he said. "I need to report this to General Yu Fei." Upon hearing this, Hongwu couldn't contain her excitement. She clenched her fists, jumped for joy, and looked at Lu Shang with a gaze filled with hope and happiness. If he truly was a rookie, she thought, this was the perfect moment to make connections with a powerful young man. Over time, he could become the 8th star of the East. Several hours later, darkness blanketed the sky as Lu Shang and the Tiger Scorpion team arrived at the military headquarters. The area was bustling with activity despite the late hour. Soldiers and their families moved about, giving the place a lively and almost festive atmosphere. It was a stark contrast to the war-torn front lines Lu Shang was accustomed to. Lu Shang, with his spear strapped to his back, walked alongside the Tiger Scorpion team, his hands casually tucked into his pants pockets. Hongwu, the red-haired captain, approached him with a cheerful demeanor. "Welcome to the general's area," she said, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Many of the high-ranking officials bring their families and friends here. It's a secure place, almost like a city within itself." As Lu Shang looked around, he saw rows of mansions, their lights glowing warmly in the night. The area was indeed vibrant, filled with laughter and the hum of everyday life. For a moment, Lu Shang allowed himself to imagine his parents living in such a place, safe from any threats, especially from Lien Su, whose brother and nephew he had recently killed. The thought brought a rare smile to his face. Turning to Hongwu, he asked calmly, "How does one get accommodation here? I could really use a shower. I'm all sticky from the battlefield." Hongwu's expression shifted slightly. She seemed to hesitate, her cheeks reddening. "Well," she began, "since you've never been to headquarters before, you don't technically have valid identification at the moment. This means you can't officially stay here just yet." She then crossed one arm under her chest, resting the other on top, and gazed into Lu Shang's eyes with a soft, almost loving look. "But, if you don't mind, you could stay at my place tonight. It's just temporary, until we sort out your identification." Lu Shang's face turned as red as a tomato, his mind racing. He had not expected such an invitation and couldn't help but feel flustered.